So after this morning's broadcast of Morning to LA, you could see I was a little PO'd, so I needed a break. So I went to the casino. And I was in the bar, and certainly Sir Lloyd sort of moved on up. And he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was a little pissed off by Temple of Doom's remarks. You know what you need?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You need a new mood. Mood. You need to refocus. Focus on getting people their stimulus, not focusing on false narratives and fake news reports and fake economics and fake calculators." Oh, you're right. You are right. How did you get so smart for a cow? Because I'm a cow. Haven't you heard? I'm like, okay. Well, can I tip you, Mr. Cow? No. I'm a cow. We don't like to get tipped. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoons at LALATE with a new mood, a new focus, and a new path to get your stimulus. I really appreciate you for tuning in for our 2-hour programming block, which starts now. This is a great afternoon in which renewed emphasis, renewed focus, and distracting us from fake narratives is all the rage. And additionally, new hairstyles. Go to the Brothers channel and subscribe because we are refocusing and getting ourselves on track and away from fake narratives, and I'll have more about that in a second. Also, like this video. Thank you for bringing us to 221,000 subscribers. We're on the path to 300,000. And also, thank you for tuning in for early mornings LALATE at 3 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Boy, that was a hit. 2 shows every morning, starting at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on your stimulus. In this video, I'll be going over the breaking news, which is we are the truck drivers. We're going to be driving this truck, and we're not going to allow anyone else to drive it anymore. What we're going to do is refocus ourselves on only what is correct and where we need to get our stimulus. And by doing that, we're going to ignore Larry Kudlow's fake economic data that was announced this afternoon. Second, we're going to ignore Nancy Pelosi's fake narratives that was delivered last night. Third, we're going to ignore Mitch McConnell's fake bill provisions, which everyone knows is ultimately going to die. We're not going to focus on things that just go nowhere and are fake. Rather, we're going to deal with reality. And there's some really great news. The really great news is that all eyes are still on one thing: Steve Mnuchin's incredible deal items. I will be going again over those incredible deal offers and why you could get more stimulus checks under Mnuchin and how you could get multiple stimulus checks under Mnuchin. Next, I will be going over the deal terms. Then I'll be going over timing of the money, how quickly you could receive the money, and next, how to get to that point with Steve Mnuchin. Additionally, I will be going over why you should ignore Wall Street reactions, airline reactions, travel reactions. And finally, I will be going over timing executive orders, where you should focus on executive orders, whether it's October 19th, reopening Senate, or whether it's now, or whether it's after October 19th. Finally, I will be going over a strange twist that a major lawsuit now said that more people should be getting stimulus. Oh boy, stay tuned for that at the 10-minute mark. All right, let me get to the breaking news. The breaking news is that we're driving the truck. And we're driving the truck, and for the first time ever, I'm going to turn this channel away from fake narratives. If you did not hear, today actually, YouTube announced a new policy prohibiting fake vaccine information on channels. Second, Twitter and Facebook removed a fake narrative article from a New York from page 6 in the New York Post about Joseph Biden's son. And so in that spirit, I'm not going to be reporting on fake information from Nancy Pelosi or fake economics from Larry Kudlow or anything like that. Larry Kudlow was all over CNBC today, and basically everything he said was just totally incorrect, talking about a V-shaped recovery. Rather, I'm going to focus on reality and how we get from here to there. There was an old saying someone once told me: you drive the truck. You don't let someone else drive the truck. And so you get from point A to point B. So let's go over the incredible path that's in front of us as we drive the truck. That path is Steve Mnuchin's incredible deal offers. When he debuted them on Thursday, a lot of people initially didn't know what they were. But on Sunday, we started to see some more of it. On a Monday, we saw more of it. And today, we even heard more as he spoke additionally about the deal provisions. Stimulus checks, $1,200 individuals, $2,400 married couples, and my SSDI, my SSI, my Social Security, my railroad benefits, and my veterans, you will all get a full stimulus check of $1,200. This is incredibly great news. It does not depend on whether you are a dependent on someone's tax return or not a dependent. Steve Mnuchin finally has heard the calls from this channel to get rid of this focus on how you declare your taxes as a determining factor for your stimulus check amount, and just say, hey, you're an adult. You get $1,200. Who cares how you declare your taxes? What I detailed when I first moved into the space is that the fact that you did not get a first stimulus check was not because you were on SSI, SSDI, SSI, or Social Security, or railroad benefits, or that you were a veteran. It was because it was a very bad provision in the first stimulus package which said for people who are adults and are on someone else's tax return, you won't even get a stimulus check. Well, Steve Mnuchin made it simple. He's taking that all out. And so now it's just $1,200 for all adults. Doesn't matter how you do your taxes, whether you do a tax return or you don't do a tax return. Very, very simple and very good. Next, children. A lot of people were pushing for $500 children. Nothing for children. Steve Mnuchin raised it even better, $1,000 per child. $1,000 per child. So before I continue on even those calculations, let me explain. Single mom, 4 kids, $1,200, $400,000. Incredible. That would be $5,200 delivered to you for you and your 4 kids. Husband and wife, 3 kids, $1,200, 3 kids. 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. So it would be 3,000 plus 2,400, $5,400, if I did that correctly. Absolutely, categorically incredible. Now, how about the provisions? Taken out for child support? No. Taken out for debt collections? No. Taken out for back taxes? No. All very good. How about multiple checks? Well, Steve Mnuchin has always said that he would not eliminate the possibility for multiple stimulus checks. He's just not going to do multiple stimulus checks in this provision, but if there needs to be multiple stimulus checks, the president would do them. Now, you can interpret that 2 different ways. One way, which is the Problem Solvers bill, has a second stimulus check in March of next year. Mnuchin doesn't address March of next year. He just says, we're not going to deal with that period of time. We're just dealing with now. Now, certainly as you sit here today, you certainly understand and you co-sign, you agree with me that you're owed multiple stimulus checks, and you're owed a check for the month of April and May and June and July. Under CARES Act 1, you were supposed to get a stimulus check for every month you're on lockdown. But as we sit here today, there's really no one except me and you that are pushing for the Harris-Sanders bill that set a check every month for $2,000 for 6 months until the pandemic improves. There's no one sitting here except me and you that's saying, hey, we were owed multiple stimulus checks under the first stimulus package. Why were they taken out? You said you were going to get to them later. You didn't get to them later. So ultimately, we have to take the best offer that we have at the moment, which is Steve Mnuchin's. And it's good. It's good. It's not perfect, but it's very good to get us going. Now, this package is a package that should get you the stimulus checks now. How soon would you get the stimulus checks? More about that in a second. I'll tell you the routing time for the stimulus checks in a second. The next thing you have to understand is that Steve Mnuchin has $400 a week for FPUC until the 3rd week of January, retroactive to September 12th. This is incredibly great news as well, because ultimately, you're going to get retroactive benefits now. There's 2 things that are about this that you have to think about. One, it's really good because it's a bigger offer. It's a bigger FPUC, thank God. It's FPUC further into the future, so middle January, which I always thought was so important, because ultimately what's the issue here is that You don't want FPUC to expire during the holidays. Ugh, in the thick of winter? No. As the snow's dropping down on December 31st, oh, there's no more FPUC? No, no, you don't want that. But I would have liked it to be retroactive to the date at which FPUC 1.0 expired, late July. So ultimately, you can't have everything, but at least those are deal provisions that are incredibly great. And finally, state and local, $300 billion, that's enough to make it a done deal. There's additional provisions in there, like EIDL grants, EIDL loans, PPP loans. This is all money for my viewers. There's also a CDC grant that would go to you if you're a frontline worker. More about that in the next video. So there's a lot of money for my frontline workers who did work during the pandemic in some capacity, or my single business owners or small business owners who have been impacted by the COVID-19. There's money for you as well. Remember, because I haven't said this in a while, none of these things conflict with one another. So you get all of these things. You can get stimulus check plus FPUC. You can get FPUC plus EIDL grant. You can get EIDL loan plus a stimulus check. All these things you can get together. And ultimately, I'm here to get you all this money. I'm not going anywhere. Because as people always say, are you going anywhere? Well, no, I'm locked to this chair, don't you realize? Except if the Calcine has a nice discount, maybe I'll be gone for the next few hours, few extra hours. Now that we understand Mnuchin's deal items, what I want to go over as we stay with me in this video because I have a lot still coming up. I want to go over the timing, the executive order, what you need to understand for October and January. I want to talk to you about additionally this new round of stimulus checks that could be coming to people that didn't get it the first time. That's coming up later in this video. All right, let me continue. Next, what do we do with all this news that's out here? Well, what I'm going to start doing starting today is I'm not going to report obvious news because Captain Obvious is no longer needed here. You've become so well educated because of this channel, and I really appreciate your feedback that I don't need to tell you anymore. Wall Street reacted today to Steve Mnuchin's remarks. I don't need to tell you that really anymore because you sort of understand how Wall Street would react. Oh, the airlines reacted. Oh, the travel industry reacted. Big deal. We already know that. So starting today, I'm not going to report something that's so obvious that you already know what the reaction will be. Now, tomorrow, for example, at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we will have the new jobless claims, and Wall Street will react to that. Of course, I'm going to report on that because I don't know where the number is. I certainly predict the number's not going to be good, but something like that, that's new and important information. Next, timing of your checks, timing of the stimulus, timing of executive orders. Let's go over this right now. This is what's so important. One of the things that no one talks to you about is the element of timing and why time is on your favor now, but in a few weeks it could turn against you. First, the president could do executive orders right today. Pen and paper, give him the pen, give him the paper. The president's having an economic conference today. And at that economic conference, he's speaking about where he wants this economy to go. Could he announce an executive order at that economic conference? Certainly. But the president needs to announce an executive order for stimulus checks. He can send out the money. He has the ability. He has done it before. Second, he could do an executive order for FPUC. No need to rehash that again. We did that just a few days ago. But what's important to understand is that if he did that executive order right today, when would you receive your stimulus? Well, the stimulus check you could receive within 10 days, electronic receipt from the day in which he puts pen to paper. If you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security and Railroad benefits, and if you are an individual who pays their taxes to the IRS electronically and they have your bank account on file. This is incredibly great news because as we sit here now, what is today, October 24th? 10 days from now, you could get it by Halloween. Trick or treat, here's some treat and no trick. You could literally receive it that quickly. You could absolutely receive it by the day of the election. Ultimately, there's someone who says she doesn't want President Trump to send you a stimulus check with his name on it. Well, guess what, President Trump? You can send us a stimulus check with your name on it. Just do it and do it right now. Next, if he doesn't do executive orders, then what happens on October 13th or 14th when Mitch reopens the Senate? And what happens between then and uh, election day? Well, ultimately, Mitch will do something. It may not be the president's bill. It may be a waste of time bill. But the good news is that it only takes 2 days to get something to law once the Senate's open. 1 day for the House to pass it, 1 day for the Senate to pass it, and 1 day for the president to pass it. What happens then on after Election Day? Well, Steve Mnuchin today said he's not certain whether or not in a comment before the Milken Institute, he said, I don't know if we can get this stimulus done before the election by legislative means, by passing a law. Well, what happens when you get to the issue of an election and the president allegedly loses and the Senate goes Democrat? What will people do for your stimulus between that date of the election and January 1st? They potentially may do nothing. What's important to understand is that from date of election to January 1st, first week of January, those people who are currently in office stay in office. They're what's called lame ducks. And they may not want to do anything for you because ultimately they're packing their suitcases and about to leave in 2 weeks. And so you may have to wait all the way to March to receive your stimulus. Why? Because the lame ducks, the people in office all the way till the end of the year, may not do anything. And then come January, the new people who come in will take weeks to get a plan going, weeks to get a bill approved, weeks to have it set up an agency that has the money, and then weeks for the money to be routed to you. And that brings you to March. That's why time's on your hand now, but it starts to work against you as we're closer and closer to the election. A lot of twists and a lot of turns. Finally, more money. A California court announced hours ago that under CARES Act 1, there was no provision that said that stimulus checks would be not paid to people who are incarcerated. Rather, CARES Act did not say anything about people incarcerated. What's important to understand is if you're in prison and you're about to be released and you're waiting for, and there was a stimulus check being issued, suddenly you would get the stimulus check, and that when you're released you have the money, so that when you're starting your new life after being released and doing your time, you have a stimulus check. Well, guess what? IRS didn't pay those stimulus checks, said, we're not even following the CARES Act. Does that sound familiar? Maybe Javita Carranza was going to lunch with them. Well, California court ruled against IRS and said, no, you have to pay these stimulus checks to people incarcerated because nowhere in the CARES Act says you cannot. And so now all these people who are potentially going to get released at some time in their life after doing their service and about to rejoin our community have those stimulus checks awaiting them until the following twist. The IRS is appealing the decision and is still battling against paying those checks. Finally, fake stimulus information. Andy Stone, a spokesperson for Facebook today, slammed a New York Post article which hit Twitter earlier today and Facebook and said, we're not allowing these things to post and we're stopping it right now. While I will intentionally not link to the New York Post, I want to be clear that the story is eligible to be fact-checked by Facebook's third-party fact-checking partners. In the meantime, we're reducing its distribution on the platform. Investigations by the press during impeachment and even 2 Republican-led Senate committees were not sufficient. It's important to understand that true news is good news, and that fake news, whether it's Republican or Democrat, should have no place in our stimulus negotiations. Let me answer some of your 1,500 incredible great questions from yesterday. Tammy, the president needs to get this done. All the stress and nonsense. Kathy, President Trump needs to take Mitch McConnell behind the woodshed. Victor Nunez, we can't have a rich government and a poor nation. Debbie, I think the politicians need to remember who put them in office. Vatty, why can't Trump do something? Donna, why waste money with a stupid bill? She's referring to Mitch McConnell. People are starving. Tammy, why don't they just freeze the salaries of politicians until it's done? Sidney, McConnell should be done in his re-election ways. I'm sick of him. Deborah, we need a change in the House and Senate. DJ, I think there's feeding us more cow patties. Carl, Mitch is a traitor. Ronald, Kentucky needs to wake up and realize this isn't for everybody. Connie, if it isn't for the American people, they refuse. Brenda, Mitch and Nancy are just alike. David, Trump should sign an executive order. You see why in a day like this it's important to refocus. And those comments were 21 hours ago. I don't want to focus anymore on a bad Mitch bill. I don't want to focus anymore on a fake narrative from the Temple of Doom. I want to focus on getting your stimulus checks. So stay with me because I'm going to have more updates in this afternoon's broadcast. Coming up next, I'm going to be going over how I can get you money, how I got someone money, a lot of money. And then after that is McConnell versus Trump and Pelosi versus Mnuchin. Go to the Finance channel, subscribe. We're trying to reach 300,000 subscribers and we're doing a great job. I really appreciate you for tuning in on Early Mornings LALATE, and boy, it was a big hit. And thank you for joining on Mornings LALATE and 28. Also, like this video. Coming up, a lot of exciting news, so stay with me. Don't leave me. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, stay focused, and stay LA for more.